Before the outrage, before the headlines, before the world called her Nirbhaya, she was Jyoti, a daughter, a dreamer, and a fighter. Jyoti Singh was born on May 5, 1989, in a modest home in Balia, a small district in Uttar Pradesh, India. Her family was poor, but rich in determination. Her father, Badri Singh, worked as an airport loader in Delhi, lifting heavy cargo day and night, so his children could live with dignity. Her mother, Asha Devi, held the home together with love and unshakable strength. They had no luxuries, no running water, no electricity most nights, but they had hope. And Jyoti, she was their brightest light. From a young age, Jyoti was drawn to science, medicine, and service. She told her parents she wanted to be a doctor, not because it paid well, but because she wanted to help those who couldn't help themselves. But the path wasn't easy. Her family could barely afford basic school fees, so Jyoti tutored neighborhood children after school to earn a little money. She studied by candlelight. She walked long distances just to borrow textbooks, but she never complained, because she was focused, because she believed. Eventually, she was accepted into a physiotherapy college in Uttamnagar, a suburb of Delhi. There, she moved into a shared flat with other female students. Her life became a rhythm of long study hours, part-time tutoring jobs, and dreams she scribbled into worn notebooks. She loved Bollywood music. She liked watching romantic films. She wanted to open her own clinic one day. And maybe once she had achieved everything, marry the man she loved. Her parents were proud. Her brothers looked up to her. Her teachers called her brilliant. Jyoti Singh was proof that you could rise out of poverty and choose your future, that you could burn bright even in the dark. But fate had something cruel in store. December 16, 2012, a cool winter evening in Delhi. Jyoti had just watched a movie, Life of Pi, with a male friend at the Select City Walk Mall in Saket. They laughed, walked out of the theater, and started looking for a ride home. It was late, past 8:30 p.m. Buses had started thinning out. That's when they saw it. A white private bus. Curtains on the windows. 6 men inside. It looked like a normal chartered ride, the kind used to ferry people home from work. They climbed in. What they didn't know was that the doors of that bus would close behind them forever. Almost immediately, the nightmare began. The bus drove aimlessly in circles. The doors were locked. The windows shuttered. Then came the verbal taunts, the accusations, then the violence. Where Jyoti's friend tried to protect her, he was beaten with an iron rod, repeatedly, without mercy. Then they turned to Jyoti. She was dragged to the back of the bus, held down, beaten, brutalized. One by one, 6 men raped her. But it didn't end there. They used the iron rod on her, caused internal injuries so severe that doctors later said they'd never seen anything like it. When they were done, they stripped both victims, threw them out of the moving bus, onto a cold roadside in Medipalpur, naked, bleeding, barely alive. And then the bus drove away. Somehow they survived the fall. A passerby called the police. Jyoti was rushed to Safdarjung Hospital, but the damage was catastrophic. She had lost most of her intestines. She couldn't eat. She couldn't speak without pain. She drifted in and out of consciousness. Yet when the police asked if she wanted justice, she whispered, "Yes." India watched, horrified. People gathered outside the hospital. They lit candles. They shouted slogans. They prayed. The government flew her to a hospital in Singapore for better care. But on December 29, 2012, 13 days after the attack, Jyoti Singh died. She was 23 years old. Her body was flown back to Delhi under cover of night. Her funeral was private, but her death was not. The girl they called Nirbhaya, the fearless one, became the voice of millions, of every woman who had ever been silenced, of every girl who had ever been told not to go out at night, of every mother who feared what the world could do to her daughter. The question was no longer, what happened to Jyoti Singh? The question was, what will India do now? When Jyoti's body was discovered on the side of the road, naked, broken, barely breathing, the city of Delhi changed overnight. Police were the first to arrive. What they saw left them shaken. Her friend was conscious, bleeding from the head, barely able to speak. Jyoti, lying beside him, was in shock. She was trying to speak, but her injuries were unimaginable. They wrapped her in borrowed shawls, rushed her to Safdarjung Hospital. A team of doctors gathered, knowing the odds were against them. Inside the emergency ward, one surgeon wept after seeing her wounds. It wasn't just rape, it was torture. But Jyoti fought to live. And when she could, she spoke. She remembered the bus, the faces, the sequence, the pain, and she remembered something critical: the license plate. That single detail changed everything. Delhi police launched one of the fastest manhunts in the country's history. Hundreds of officers combed the streets. Checkpoints were set up. Bus depots were raided. They traced the license number to a private bus operated illegally by a man named Ram Singh. It wasn't registered for public transport, but that didn't stop him and his group of friends from using it to prowl the streets after hours. Posing as a commuter shuttle, Ram Singh was arrested within 24 hours, but he wasn't alone. One by one, his accomplices were hunted down. Mukesh Singh, Ram's younger brother; Vinay Sharma, a gym assistant; Pawan Gupta, a fruit seller; Akshay Thakur, a factory worker; and the youngest, just 17 years old at the time, whose name was never officially released due to his age. They had all been inside the bus. They had all taken part in the crime. When the police found the bus, it was filthy. There were bloodstains on the seats, shards of glass, signs of struggle. But most horrifying was what lay hidden under one of the benches. The iron rod, bent, bloody, silent, a weapon that told its own story. Each of the 6 men told a different version of the night. They blamed each other, minimized their own role, claimed they were drunk. Some even laughed during questioning. But Jyoti had already told the truth. Medical reports backed every word, and the police had something else: CCTV footage. Security cameras along the ring road showed the bus making loops during the assault. The GPS data from the bus matched her timeline. Eyewitnesses remembered seeing it drive by erratically, curtains drawn tight. Everything added up. The Delhi police filed a 1,000-page charge sheet in just 18 days. The accused were charged with gang rape, murder, kidnapping, attempt to murder, unnatural offenses, and destruction of evidence. But it wasn't just a case anymore. It was a national emergency. By now, India had erupted. Thousands of protesters poured into the streets of Delhi. Young men and women, students, activists, parents, survivors. They held signs with Jyoti's name, lit candles at India Gate, shouted into microphones, into cameras, into history, "We want justice. Hang the rapists. This must never happen again." The government tried to contain the rage. Police fired water cannons, used tear gas, but the fire was already lit. This wasn't just about Jyoti anymore. It was about a system that had failed. Every woman in India had felt that failure. On buses, in alleys, at work, on their way home from school. Jyoti was just one girl, but she had become every girl. Back in the hospital, Jyoti's condition worsened. Her intestines had been removed. She was in and out of surgery. Then, on December 27th, the government airlifted her to Mount Elizabeth Hospital in Singapore, hoping advanced care could save her, but it was too late. She died 2 days later on December 29th at 2:15 a.m. Her parents were by her side. Doctors said she fought until the end. But the trauma was too much. India woke up to the news with heartbreak and fury. The girl who had wanted to heal others was gone, but her voice was not. Her body was returned home in silence. No press, no cameras, just grief. A nation stood still, and 6 men now faced a trial that would define the soul of a country. By January 2013, just weeks after Jyoti Singh's death, a courtroom in South Delhi became the epicenter of a nation's pain. 5 of the 6 accused stood trial for the most heinous crime in modern Indian memory. The 6th, the juvenile, would face a different kind of justice. He was 17 years and 6 months old when the crime was committed, just under the legal adult age. The case was tried in a fast-track court, created specifically to ensure the proceedings would not be delayed or buried in endless bureaucracy. The charges were overwhelming: rape, murder, destruction of evidence, criminal conspiracy, kidnapping, and more. Each man pleaded not guilty, but the evidence was a mountain. DNA samples from the bus matched the victim. Bloodstains matched the accused. The iron rod recovered still bore traces of Jyoti's tissue. The friend who survived the ordeal testified in brutal, painful detail. His voice trembled. His eyes stayed fixed on the courtroom floor, but his words rang through the silence like thunder. He told them everything: what happened, how it happened, who did what, who laughed, who beat him, who tore Jyoti apart. The accused watched him speak. Some sneered, some shifted uncomfortably. None denied what had been done. The prosecution built a case so airtight, even the defense lawyers struggled to create doubt. But what shocked the nation, what caused outrage all over again, was not just the crime, but the arguments made in court. Defense attorneys claimed the girl had invited trouble by being out late at night. They said good girls don't walk with boys after dark. One lawyer said he would burn his own daughter alive if she acted like Jyoti. The courtroom fell silent. So did the world watching. It wasn't just a legal defense. It was an indictment of everything wrong with society. Blaming the victim, shaming the girl, excusing the rapist. India boiled with rage again. Protests reignited. Voices grew louder. Journalists refused to stay neutral. The courtroom was guarded. Judges received threats. The entire country held its breath. The trial lasted months. Each day was a reminder of how deep the wound ran, of how easily justice could slip away. But on September 13, 2013, the judge spoke. The room was packed. The verdict was clear. All four adult men, Name Singh, Mukesh Singh, Akshay Thakur, and Pawan Gupta, were guilty, sentenced to death by hanging. The courtroom erupted in tears. Jyoti's parents held each other. Outside, a crowd chanted, "Hang them! Hang them!" But it wasn't over. The men appealed. They took their case to the Delhi High Court. The High Court upheld the sentence. Then they went to the Supreme Court of India, the highest legal body in the land. The Supreme Court also upheld the sentence. Still, they filed mercy petitions. One by one, each petition was rejected by the President of India. All except one. Because Name Singh, the ringleader, never made it to execution day. On March 11, 2013, barely 3 months after his arrest, Name Singh was found dead in his prison cell, hanging from a bedsheet. The official report said suicide. But questions remain to this day. Did he take his own life out of guilt? Or was it prison justice delivered by other inmates? We may never know, but four remained, and they fought for 7 long years. In 2020, their execution date was finally confirmed. On March 20, 2020 at 5:30 a.m. at Tor Jail in Delhi, 4 men were hanged by the neck until dead. India watched live news coverage that morning. Some people cried, some prayed, some felt peace for the first time in years. And for Jyoti's parents, Badri Singh and Asha Devi, it was not closure, but it was justice. The juvenile, the 6th accused, was tried under the Juvenile Justice Act. He was sentenced to just 3 years in a reform home, the maximum penalty for a minor in India at the time. In 2015, he walked free. Reports say he was given a new identity and job training. He disappeared into society. A man who had once held an iron rod inside a bus, now given a second chance at life. That decision continues to divide the country. Was it justice, or was it a failure? Only time can answer. The death of Jyoti Singh didn't just shock India. It echoed across oceans. From New York to London, from Tokyo to Johannesburg, her story made headlines. Brutal gang rape in Delhi sparks global outrage. India under fire for treatment of women. News anchors couldn't hide their disgust. World leaders issued statements. International human rights groups demanded action. But in India, it wasn't about saving face. It was about survival. For too long, violence against women had been ignored, minimized, normalized. But Jyoti's story pierced through the noise. This wasn't just another statistic. She had a name, a dream, a voice. And now, even in death, she had become a movement. In the days that followed her funeral, India's government faced a storm. Women marched in the streets. Students flooded city centers. Protesters blocked roads. Some were beaten. Some were arrested. But they kept going because they were no longer afraid. They carried signs that read, "Don't tell me how to dress. Teach your sons not to rape. My body is not your battleground. We are all Nirbhaya." In response, the government appointed a special committee. It was led by Justice J.S. Verma, former Chief Justice of India. In just 29 days, the Verma Committee released a 630-page report. It recommended sweeping changes, harsher punishments for rape, faster trials, more protections for victims, police reform, and for the first time, recognition of marital rape as a serious offense. Not all the recommendations were adopted, but many. In March 2013, the Indian Parliament passed a new law, the Criminal Law Amendment Act, 2013. It expanded the definition of rape, introduced the death penalty for certain cases, made stalking, voyeurism, and acid attacks punishable offenses. Fast-track courts for sexual assault cases were established. And most importantly, it gave survivors the dignity of being heard without shame. India, it seemed, was waking up. But Jyoti's parents knew laws were only the beginning. Ashada Devi and Jyoti Singh did not retreat into silence. They became warriors. They spoke at schools, marched in protests, appeared on television, told the story of their daughter again and again and again. So no one could forget. Asha Devi became known as India's mother. She told every girl, "Be brave, be proud, don't hide your name." My daughter had a name. She was Jyoti. In 2015, they opened the Nirbhaya Jyoti Trust, a foundation that provides legal aid and counseling to women affected by violence. They transformed their grief into purpose, and in doing so, they turned pain into power. But even as laws changed, something darker lingered. In villages, towns, cities, violence against women continued. Cases piled up. Victims remained silent. Perpetrators walked free. India had taken a step forward, but the road ahead was long. Some asked, why did it take such brutality to spark change? Others said, change had begun. Finally, either way, Jyoti's legacy could not be erased. Her story was taught in law schools. Her case was cited in global studies on women's rights. Documentaries were made, films inspired, art created. She had become a symbol, not of fear, but of resistance. In 2015, a British filmmaker released India's Daughter, a documentary that featured interviews with the rapists, the lawyers, and Jyoti's parents. India banned it immediately. Officials said it painted the country in a bad light. But the truth couldn't be banned. The documentary went viral. Millions watched. Millions wept. The world had seen India's pain. And more importantly, India had seen itself. Today, the road where Jyoti was found has been renamed. Memorials exist in her honor. Each December, candlelight vigils are held. Her name is whispered in classrooms, written on posters, etched into laws. But the fight continues, because for every Jyoti, there are countless more girls still waiting to be protected, still waiting to be believed, still waiting to come home safe. Jyoti Singh was not just a victim. She was not just Nirbhaya. She was a daughter, a student, a dreamer, a healer, a fighter. And in her short life, she shook a nation. She woke up the world. And though she was silenced far too soon, her voice will never die. If you think you've heard it all, you haven't heard this. Because this isn't just a story about what happened on a bus in Delhi. It's a story about a fire that refuses to go out. The fire of justice, the fire of remembrance, the fire of one girl who said yes to life, even as it was being taken from her. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Let her name live on. Subscribe to Crime Vault for more real, raw, and heartbreaking true stories. Hit the bell icon so you never miss what others try to forget. And in the comments say her name, Jyoti Singh, because some stories are not meant to be forgotten. They are meant to be carried.